Hi everybody, welcome to today's episode of The Drunken Pirate. So today we are going into the Tyrrhenian Sea to the region of Italy known as Campania. This is where certain sources show that the dish known as lasagna originated. Although the lasagna that was written down in recipes in the 14th century is quite a bit different than what we're going to look at today, this region of Italy still holds the place for being the originator. Now, one of the things that I found interesting when I was doing a little research today is you don't really hear much about Italian pirates. So did a little digging, and there are a few. One of the most notorious is a 19th century pirate by the name of Vincenzo Gambia. Now Gambia was known as a very violent pirate and threw in his lot with Jean Lafitte, who, if you remember back from world history, which nobody does because nobody paid attention, he had a lot to do with the Battle of New Orleans. Now, another thing that was interesting about Gambia is that he also threw in with the Spaniards in an attempt to take Texas during a period when Spain and Texas were at peace. So, hop on the internet, take a look, and see what you can find. Hopefully you don't end up like Gambia, who was actually killed in his sleep by one of his own men with the axe that he used to use. So there's your little bit of useless pirate lore for the evening. So we're going to go ahead and get our stuff gathered up and make us some lasagna. So before we look at the ingredient list, quick shout out to my unofficial producer, the Lady April, who brings us all of our fun pirate lore that we go through. Also, for all of you that haven't asked me about it yet, but you're going to, you just haven't made the time, my custom nice aprons came from Willhelm-Waid Designs, so, you know, order you one today, or 10 or 12, either way. So let's look at our ingredients real quick. Now we're going to be doing this today in two parts. The first part is going to be the sauce. Now this does make quite a bit of sauce. The few times that I've made this in the past, I've had enough there that I can make 2 lasagnas. And then this last time, for some reason, extended it even a little further. This sauce is great if you want to make multiple lasagnas. It freezes well, so if you want to use it for other types of pasta, it's great for that. But what we're going to have here is you want a pound of pork Italian sausage. I just get the breakfast sausage. It works out great, Italian style. You want a pound of lean hamburger meat. Go with the 20/80. If you can get leaner than that, go with that. We're going to have some minced up onion, half a cup. 2 cloves of minced garlic. I like to use the pre-done stuff, so that's going to be a tablespoon for that. We're going to have crushed tomatoes, tomato sauce, tomato paste, half a cup of water. We're going to have table sugar, salt, fennel leaves, Italian seasoning, basil, parsley, and black pepper. As you saw at the beginning of the video, I'll put up the recipe, and then at the end I'll repost the recipe for you as well. So what we're going to do to start with is we're going to go ahead and brown our hamburger meat and our sausage along with the onion and the garlic. So we'll be back in just a second once that's gotten underway. Okay, so we've gotten our hamburger meat and our sausage browned. We did that with the onion and the garlic. You want to continuously break apart the meat as it's browning And that'll help you to get a finer sauce. Now, if you want something chunky, then by all means, it's your business. But for this, I like to have the meat broken down into smaller pieces. So we're going to go ahead now, and we're just going to add our seasonings. We have the pepper, the parsley, basil, the salt, the Italian seasoning, the fennel seeds, and finally the sugar. So once you get all that in, we just want to give that a pretty good stir, making sure that you don't have one big old clump of sugared meat. So get that done. Now at this point we're going to add our sauce ingredients. So we have the crushed tomatoes, now this is not the type of meal that you're going to be able to throw together for the kids in the 30 minutes after you get home from work. The sauce alone we're going to let cook for almost 2 hours. So you want to make sure that you've got some time for this one. Next we'll add the tomato sauce. But it definitely is worth it. The way your house will smell is just as good as the way it's going to taste. And then our tomato paste. Come on. And I had to look it up one day to find out what tomato paste was used for. And it's actually a thickener for sauces. So there's your little bit of useless trivia for the day. And then we're going to toss in half a cup of water. Now, like I said, we're going to mix all this up, and then we're just going to let this sit for about the next hour and a half on simmer. Don't set it and forget it. You definitely want to come back in about every half hour or so. Stir everything up. You don't want this on a hard boil by any means. You're just trying to let the flavors blend together. So make sure that you've got it on a lower temp, covered. Check it about every 20-30 minutes or so. Give it a good stir. When we come back, we will look at how to make the cheese spread with the ricotta, and we'll put all this together. Okay, so it's been almost 2 hours, and we've let our sauce simmer. We've come in and stirred it. Looks great, smells great. I think, you know, it's middle of winter and everybody's stopped up, so who knows. But it looks great and it tastes good. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put together the ricotta cheese mixture that will go in this. Now we've also got our pot full of water boiling for the lasagna noodles. So we're going to cook those shortly. But for the ricotta cheese mixture, we are going to use 16 ounces of the ricotta, however you want to pronounce it. There you go. Kind of break that up so it doesn't look so horrible. We're also going to add an egg. Now on this, try to let your egg get to room temperature. And then we're also adding 2 tablespoons of our parsley and a half teaspoon of salt. And we just want to mix that in really good. And this is going to go in between the layers. And I've had some lasagna before that uses cottage cheese as well. I don't mind that one. I've just never found a recipe I liked that had the cottage cheese in it. But I'll get that all mixed together. Remember, this has raw egg in it, so this isn't something that you want to be taste testing. I'm sure it's going to be just fine. So there we go. We're going to pop this in the fridge for just a little bit to help it set up. And now we're just about on boiling with the water. So for this particular recipe, it's calling for 12 lasagna noodles. So let's see how many we get in a 1 pound box. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 15, 20. So we should have plenty there. And also, when it comes time to assembling, I'm going to use one of my larger casserole dishes. This one is a 3-quart 9.5 by 13.5 casserole dish. You can also buy the aluminum lasagna pans at your local grocery store. Those are nice because they usually have a lid that come with them. And then, you know, if you got to go to the meet and greet down at the church, or you need to pass something off because somebody's ill or has lost somebody in their family, it's good for those types of things. It's also good because at the end you don't have to do a lot of cleaning. You can just scrap it and go. So once this water boils, we're going to cook these noodles for somewhere between 8 and 10 minutes. Once we've hit that point, we're going to drain them, rinse them with cool water, and then we'll come back and start putting this all together. Okay, so we've got our noodles cooked and everything is ready to go, so it's time to put our lasagna together. Just adjust here. So what we're going to do is, there we go. We're going to start off by putting a scoopful of the meat sauce in the bottom of our cooking dish. And this will help the noodles not to stick. You don't need a whole lot down there, you just want to have a little bit of a base to cover. Now, once your noodles have cooked, you want to go ahead and drain them and then rinse them in cold water. That keeps them from getting too soggy. So what we're going to do now is we're just going to start layering the noodles. You can kind of overlap them just a little bit. Now, I did go ahead and cook a few extra just in case something tore or we needed some more. But we're just going to cover the bottom. Now, Once we've gotten to this point, we want to add our cheese mixture. So now this lasagna in particular makes 3 total layers. You're only going to have the ricotta on the first and second, so you can do half of it on each one of those. You're just going to scoop it down and kind of spread it. Now again, we're not looking to fully just cover everything here. So if you have some areas that don't have some cheese spread on it, that's okay. It's still going to taste fantastic. Or the other thing that you can do, if you do want to make sure that you have plenty of the cheese sauce, is just make yourself some extra up. And that'll work too. Okay. So we're going to get that cheese spread on. And at this point, we want to add our mozzarella. So we're going to try something a little different today. Now the recipe calls for mozzarella, and we're going to use the sliced mozzarella. But we're also going to add in some provolone too, to make things just a little extra cheesy. So about 6 slices of the mozzarella. And then we'll add the provolone, which I should have had already open and ready to go, but it didn't. And you can arrange the cheese however you'd like. It's just depending on whatever seems to work for you. What did Bob Ross call it? No mistakes, just happy little accidents. Alright. So now that we've got our cheese laid out, it is time to add our meat mixture. Now remember, this makes quite a bit, so you can be a little more liberal with what you put on here. I like to save the excess, and I'll either make a lasagna for my neighbor, or we'll freeze the excess and save it for a night when we're going to have spaghetti. Just want something simple. It makes a great sauce for that. Alright. So there you go. Now, at this point, you can sprinkle some more shredded cheese over it. You can sprinkle some Parmesan if you like. That is all right. So we're going to layer our next set of noodles. And then we're going to begin the process all over again. We'll use the other half of the ricotta mixture. Now, if anybody's watching and they want to sponsor me by buying me a big old kitchen, or even better, a house with a big old kitchen, feel free to contact me. I'm more than happy to take you up on that. Alright. So again, we're going to layer the sliced cheese. Now, if you have issues with lactose, this might not necessarily be the greatest recipe for you to go with, but I'm sure they make some type of a lactose-free cheese or something that would work for you. You'll notice that there's no music playing in the background. That's because I got dinged my very first video. So instead of messing with that, you just get to listen to those dulcet tones of my kitchen. Alright. Go ahead and add some more of the meat sauce. And the other great thing that you can do for this meal is if you decided that you wanted to check out my video on bread making and make yourself some bread, you can slice that up, put some butter on it, sprinkle some Italian herbs, maybe a little garlic salt, pop it under the broiler, and you've got some garlic toast to go with your homemade lasagna. So you can impress your friends, impress your mother, whoever you need to impress. We're going to put our last layer of the noodles on. Go. Okay. Now, at this point, if you wanted to put a little bit of extra meat sauce on the top, you can. We're just going to go ahead and top it off with the remainder of the cheese. Which this one isn't open. There it goes. Actually, let's just go ahead and put a little smattering of the meat sauce on, just for giggles. And again, this is just a great recipe. If you've got some time, you want to make something that's a little different for the family. Because sometimes, you know, just something homemade, even if you're trying it out, can be just a great change. And let's just fill in gaps here where we got gaps. Alright, and then we'll top this off with some fresh Parmesan. I wouldn't suggest using that powdered stuff that you get. It just isn't going to do as well. So there we have it. Now what we want to do is we're going to go ahead and cover this in foil. Now you don't want your foil sticking, so one of the things that you can do is take your foil and you can spray it with a cooking spray, which will of course help keep it from sticking. Now if you're like me and you look and you can't find the cooking spray, then what you can do is come back with just some regular cooking oil on a paper towel and then rub that on the foil, which is what we're going to do. And this will teach me to be a little more thorough on the days that I want to make a video. All right, oven's on 375, so we're gonna go in here and we're gonna bake this for 25 minutes. Now, at the end of those 25 minutes, we're going to come back and we're going to take the foil off and bake it for an additional 25 minutes. And then we'll check in once that's done. Now take a look at that. Isn't that beautiful? So one of the things I forgot to tell you is make sure that you have some foil down, because sometimes this bubbles over. So, you know, put some foil down on the rack below it. We're about to put some bread in the oven. Simply some of the bread that we made today, a little butter, some of our Italian seasoning, and we're going to broil it till it's toasty. And there's dinner. So give this a try. Let us know what you think about this recipe. And until next time, y'all stay safe.